I got to tell you, the odds of making it in the music business as a musician are pretty astronomical. The odds of making it in the music business as a musician and have a career that spans over 3 decades is out of this world. It takes talent most of the time, determination, and a whole lot of luck. But to have two brothers make it in the same genre and not in the same band is even more impressive. My guests today are products of the small Caribbean island of Cuba, perhaps best known for sugar, cigars, and baseball. Yet out of that politically repressive island bursts forth a whole new export, one I'm sure dictators Batista and Castro never saw coming: heavy metal. These two brothers have been members of various bands over their illustrious careers, bands whose combined album sales are in the neighborhood of 100 million copies. Finally reunited and playing together in the same band at the same time for the first time in decades. And joining me now live on Radio Screamer are the pioneers of Cuba's metal movement. Would you say that, Robert?
I could, yeah, there's heavy metal in Cuba.
Okay. But nobody before you.
I don't know if it was called a heavy metal, but there's been other Cuban players.
All right. Well,
yeah.
It's with great pride I welcome the Sarzo brothers, Rudy and Robert. Robert, how are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you for having me over.
I'm doing awesome, and I thank you. Now, unfortunately, due to Rudy's rigorous schedule, he was unable to make it into the studio today, so he is joining us on the phone any minute now. Is your brother notoriously late?
No, he's always on time.
Because I was warned that you were the one to worry about. Is that true?
No. I try to be on time. Yeah.
So, Robert, tell me, what's going on? You just got off the road.
Oh, yeah. What is today?
Today's Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay. Got back on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where'd you come in from?
We came in from Chicago, but we started out in Cleveland, and then we went to through Detroit, different parts of Illinois, and I'm back, and then we're doing a festival on Sunday. We're back again in Illinois. It's at South Parks. It's a festival over there with Acid Chain. And really looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast.
Is that the same South Park as South Park?
I believe so,
okay.
Yes.
So we can look for all the little round kids, huh?
You got a great studio here, by the way.
Thank you.
And the view, for you listeners out there, this view here is killer. We have the ocean right here, and in Southern California, and I live in a yacht, so
right.
I could have brought my dinghy over here and just,
Hey, I never leave home without mine, I'll tell you.
How many of you have dinghies out there? Come on, call in. Let me know.
Okay. All right. We've got Rudy on the line now. Rudy, how are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing terrific. You guys have
Hey, Rudy.
fun conversation.
We are now. Let me ask you something. What's going on out there in the valley today?
I wouldn't know. I've been. I went to the gym, then I went home, and I'm working on some songs here. So it's a little overcast.
Okay.
For that.
Okay. Now, I know you guys are both crazy busy these days, so I want to thank you again for joining me. But since the Queensryche dispute has finally been settled, out of court, I'm happy to report, give us an update on Jeff's band and the short and long-term plans that you guys have with Queensryche.
To be honest with you, I don't know anything.
You're just the bass player, right? How about you, Robert?
Well, probably a lot of listeners have a lot more information than we have because they read a lot of stuff on the internet. We're just really focusing on the Farewell of the Name tour, so that's pretty much our focus right now, and it's going to be the greatest hits. So it's really going to be a really nice show. And, we'll see what else comes after that. But, I'm real positive about good stuff is going to come out of it.
It's awesome. Now, Rudy, tell us, what are you working on right now outside of Queensryche?
Well, the usual, just, staying busy with different projects. Just finished doing a track for this morning for the Anti-Metal USA project that I've been working with for the last 2 or 3 years in Japan. And Next, I'm working also finishing off a record with this band that I toured with in Russia called Project Rock. So I'm working as we speak on the bass track for that. And then I have rehearsals Friday for Randy Rhoads Remembered, which is a tribute to Randy, with a lot of special guest guitars. And we did that at the NAMM show in Anaheim.
Right.
The used to be called the Galaxy Observatory is called now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're taking it on the road. We're doing about 5 dates in first week of June in the East Coast. We're starting at the Stone Pony, and we're taking it, up and down Jersey and Connecticut and places like that, Pennsylvania. And I have to relearn everything that I played with Ozzy, and then 33 years ago, and stuff that I never got to perform with him live. So it's just busy here working.
Now, Robert, it's a little known fact that you were actually Ozzy's first replacement guitarist for Randy Rhoads, correct?
Well, what happened was that after the tragic accident, I get a call from Rudy and Sharon and Ozzy, and I was living in New Jersey at the time, and just gotten back from touring with Dio Byron, which we were supporting Bob Seger, Boomtown Rats, bands like that. And I was home in Jersey, and I get first I found out the horrible accident, then they called me and asked me if I was available and interested to fly to Los Angeles to just to help out. So I did, and I was just really trying to cram the whole Blizzard of Oz show. I happen to have a cassette tape that I have recorded. I think it was from one of the shows that they did live, which I was really fond of because I really loved the music. So anyhow, just really cramped, trying to get as close as possible to Randy, note by note. And when David Letterman show had aired with Ozzy, the following day, Ozzy showed up in L.A. and we went over songs, and he said he wanted me to finish up the tour, and I said yes, I will definitely do it. On a musical note, I mean, it was a very sad situation to be involved in. So it wasn't like one of those happy, like, wow, I'm going to do a tour, because, it's how the whole thing appeared. So I just wanted to really be there for, the band, my brother, and anyway. I accepted, the offer. So I was going to finish up, go back to Madison Square Garden, leaving back to New York, Jersey, where I was living in Paramus. Then the following day, so next morning I get up and I see Sharon starts letting me know that Don Arden had flown Bernie to May, didn't know anything about it, and told them that he was going to be doing the tour. So that's what happened.
So just like that.
Just like that.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, but, it wasn't...
Wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, it was never felt like it would have been my gig, because I just really wanted to duplicate everything as close as possible to what Randy was doing, because I love his work. I love what he did, and I totally respect what he did. And it was just such a tragic accident that it's not like he called it on himself. He didn't bring it to him. It was just one of those horrible things that happened.
Right.
The worst place to be, the worst time. And anyway, that's how it happened.
Well, I got to tell you guys, this interview is really special to me. Number one, because I have 3 older brothers, so I know the uniqueness of that brotherly relationship that you two must have. And number 2, your story is a real-life American dream that I think can serve as an inspiration to all musicians, regardless of where they come from. So, Rudy, you're the big brother. I'm going to let you go first. Can you give us a quick, just the Sarzo family history? Tell us about where you came from and just a quick description.
Wow. Where do I start?
Havana, Cuba.
Yeah. I know, but it even goes further than that. I mean, because even people think about Cuba as being Cubans, just like in the United States, the natives in Cubans were Indians, and that were actually, unfortunately, wiped out during Columbus's days, when Christopher Columbus came to that part of the world, a lot of the Indians got wiped out of the Caribbean. Only a few remain, due to diseases and murder and everything else that came along with it. So everybody from the Caribbean is from somewhere else. It's just like in the United States.
Right.
The Native Americans are the true Americans.
Correct.
And everybody here comes from somewhere else. So our family dates back through my father's side, our father's side, from Padova, which is where Ronnie James Dio is from.
No
and I just learned this from the internet.
Oh, okay.
I started getting contacted by relatives in Italy who are actually musicians, and got to find out that the Sarzo family comes from Padova. Who knew? Because I found this out when I was a member of Dio, and Ronnie couldn't believe it. Because his last name is Padovano. Ronnie Ronaldo Padovano.
Okay.
So we come from Italy, and the family settled in Cuba. And from my mom's side, it's from France. So that's a bit of our history, And so we left Cuba during at the beginning of the revolution, and we came to the United States. And one of the things that really attracted both, I believe, I know it attracted Robert and me, is the fact that rock and roll is such a free sounding music. It's all about freedom. It comes from the blues.
Right.
And the blues is the ultimate expression of freedom. Something. It's the music that was created in the cotton fields by the slaves in order to free themselves mentally. Give themselves some hope and faith that someday things were going to change, which obviously they did. So that's at the core of what we do. What we play is music about freedom. And coming from a communist country, that is, freedom is really, it's the thing that I respect the most.
Now, and you moved here in 61, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
61.
So, Robert, what's your earliest childhood memory?
Well, I still flash back laying sick in bed in Cuba, in Havana. We lived, I think it was a second story, Rudy. Was that correct? I think it was a second story.
Yeah.
And I think I had high fever. So, when you have a fever, you're a little bit off. out of the box,
right.
So to speak. So, but I do remember hearing a lot of coming from downstairs, where apparently the neighbors they kind of have jam sessions on old Chevy cars from the 50s, and they'll be playing rudiments and polyrhythms on hubcaps and hoods of cars, and hopefully it wasn't my dad's car, our dad's car, but. I do truly remember hearing all those rhythms, and it was like really intriguing, and it was really fun to listen to. At the same time, you felt like crap. You were sick. But I must have been like 3 years old or 4 years old, and those beats are still stuck in my head.
So now, before you guys got into music, I mean, what were you like as kids? What did you guys do, in Cuba and once you relocated to the U.S.?
Well, you go first, Rudy.
Well, in Cuba, we just went to school. I mean, Robert left. When we left, Robert was like 6, and I was about to turn 11. So we just did kid stuff, in school. There wasn't much else going on. So, but then, when we came to, first we went to Miami, and then we were relocated to West New York, New Jersey, and in 63. And by 64, February 64, that's when the Beatles appeared and Ed Sullivan. And changed everything for not only us, but everybody else. It was like an overnight change. The world changed.
Right. Oh,
It
yeah.
was like, wow, I like that job.
Yeah.
Where do I apply?
I mean, it affected everybody, not just like maybe 2 or 3 people in school. No, it was an uproar. Everybody went from like combing their hairs like back, like Elvis,
Right.
to coming a forward with bangs, and everything changed. So.
Now, so Robert, what was your big brother like growing up as a kid?
Oh, he always made sure that I was okay, and he's always been there for me, and he's been a terrific brother, and I'm really proud of him, and I just feel real lucky to have such a close family, and I think it goes back to mom and dad. It really reflects on the kids most of the time, but he's always been there for me, and it's always really. I mean, I just don't know what it is not having a brother like Rudy. You're there, and but it was just a lot of fun growing up together and exchanging feelings about music and artists, and we played many nights and days. Rock and roll. Growing up, and a lot of experimenting, and it was great.
Now, you guys are about 4 years apart.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of that's kind of a big gap when you're younger
When you're young
versus when you're older. So, Rudy, what was Robert like? Was he a pesky little brother, or?
Be honest, Rudy. You can tell.
I mean, growing up, it worked for me because my so-called friends that were older than Robert did not want to hang out with him. And my mom had the rule that that we both had to be together.
Right.
So I wound up hanging around with my brother's friends, which are actually cooler and younger and crazier too.
like Abby. Crazy.
Yeah. So So that was cool.
We're going to get to one of these inside stories before we end this show today.
Oh, there's too many. Oh, we were wild.
Yes. So that was really cool because it always made me feel younger to be around, younger people.
Right, and you were the coolest one, right? Because they all looked up to you.
Yeah. Rudy always had the cool cars, and
Well, sort of, yeah.
by cool, he just means it ran, right?
Actually, I got a gig because since I'm 4 years older, I got my first club gig before Robert did, and I it was like a steady gig in Florida, and I was making some really good money. So I actually went out and bought a car and left it in our parking space before I even got a driver's license. So that was kind of like my incentive. I'm going to get my driver's license now that I have a car.
So what kind of car was it?
It was a Mustang '67.
Oh yeah,
that I bought in '67.
Nice.
Hatchback, fastback.
Oh, are you kidding me? Oh my!
Yeah,
it was nice.
Metallic emerald green.
That's Bullet's car right there, huh?
Yeah.
And the back opened up. And remember, Rudy, what amplifier did you use to put in the back?
Yeah. Because back in the day, you gig so late. You get home like around, let's see, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then you had to get up and go to school. Whether it was college or high school or whatever. And so I never bothered. It was an acoustic 360 that I found a way how to snuggle it right on the passenger seat. And I would keep my '67 Fender Jazz that I bought in 1967 in the trunk. In the heat of Miami. So, it was all warped and musty. That's what I started licking my fingers because back in the day we didn't have round wound strings, like roto sounds or anything like that. We have flat wound strings.
Mm-hmm.
So they would get all musty, and they were like barbed wire, basically.
It makes your fingers really strong.
Yeah, it made my fingers sore, so I used to lick them just to get some. It basically put some spit on him, so so the calluses won't hurt so much.
That's a good way to get rid of your fingerprints, right? If you're wanted, just playing flat wounds.
Yeah, flat wounds. Yeah. But they had a funky tone to it. It was really cool. Especially if you're playing Motown and a lot of soul and funk. So it
Okay, so Robert, give us a never before told story about Rudy. Doesn't have to be embarrassing, although that's better. But and Rudy, I'm going to ask you the same question too, so you can give it some thought as your brother's scratching his head here.
Well, Rudy was always like going, "What are you doing, Robert?" Well, when I was growing up, I had a nickname. You remember that, Rudy?
Yeah, well, which one was it?
Which one? Vinegar was one of them.
Vinegar. Yeah,
Yeah.
vinegar. Yeah, vinagrito.
Yeah, vinegar, vinagrito,
And
for the Latinos, vinagrito.
And how did you get that name?
Well, I was kind of hyper, and until I found out that I was drinking a lot of coffee. That's so. Growing up, there's a really cute story. In Cuba, it's very European to give your kids a baby bottle cafe latte, which is café con leche with carnation milk and a lot of sugar. So I guess I would be laying in my crib really like hyper and bouncing and, really enjoying the cartoons. And I still remember laying in the crib and looking up, and the TV was like at a perfect height. That she would put the pillow really cute, and she would always make my coffee like perfect temperature. If it was too hot, she would put it from one container to another one, to cool it off, to make it just right for me. And I still love those drinks. And but anyhow, yeah, I just had a lot of energy. I was always climbing everything and getting in trouble. But no, Rudy was always a great very well behaved. I have nothing crazy about Rudy.
Rudy, are you the oldest of the family? Do you have any older siblings?
No. Well,
The oldest one.
one time, and I look back and I crack up. Rudy hit me smack in the head with a shoe, because I was really being a brat. And it was my fault.
Tennis shoe or hard shoe?
A hard shoe.
Ooh.
It was very well deserved. I asked for that one. But we were on the road somewhere playing in some, club, doing probably like a week somewhere. And, back in the day, it was great. We used to play in all these clubs that they would book you for the whole week or 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They'll give you a condo. They pay you very well. And all you had to do was show up and play there until 4 in the morning, most of them.
Right.
And that's what we were doing. But it was fun. I just have a lot of great memories.
And Rudy, how about you? What do you remember about this guy?
Well, he's always been outside the box. Really, really way outside the box.
I'm looking at his hat. I don't know what you mean.
The voodoo hat.
Now you mention it, yeah, he's
Santeria.
Yeah. Robert. Let's put it this way: when he was very young, if he wanted to impress a girl, he would do anything that she asked.
Oh, I like that giggle there, man. It sounds diabolical.
Okay, so being Latinos, he met this girl from Central America, who somehow talked him into becoming basically a voodoo priest.
And I did.
You did. Yeah.
Is that a mail order? One of these mail order deals?
Yeah.
Oh no, we went through the whole rituals.
Yeah. It's a whole cleansing process that you get. But he just did it because he wanted to get all the ghost pants.
But I got into it, and I totally get it. It was
Yeah. What happens is when especially back in the day, we're talking, 60s, early 70s. Culture was a little bit different, especially with the Latinos. Latino girls would not let you have your way with them until you got married.
Right.
So I guess becoming a voodoo priest kind of like, was kind of like a sure way to get in there.
you can bypass the nuptials by being a voodoo priest.
So he shows up one day with his head basically shorn, like almost shaved.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and back in the day, that was like, what are you doing?
Right.
I mean, unless you got lice or something in your head, you would never shave it off like that. All dressed in white with a bunch of voodoo beads.
You got any pictures of that, Robert? That would be priceless right there.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I know.
I don't think
of course,
so.
I ask him, what are you doing? And he says, so he tells me about this girl and stuff like that. So I figure, okay. I figure it's always good to have a voodoo priest in your family. You have a doctor, you have a lawyer, and you have a voodoo priest.
That's right. That's right. And that's what my family is lacking right now. There's a voodoo priest.
Yeah.
Now, so you guys were obviously early on influenced by the Beatles, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, how did you settle on the instruments that you chose to play?
Go ahead, Rudy.
Yeah, nobody wanted to play the bass in our neighborhood, so somebody talked me into it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I figured that the reason why girls, loved Paul McCartney was because he was a bass player.
Sure. It's not like that logic, man.
Yeah, it's like, so I say, hey, I want that job.
And Rudy was told, says, hey, the bass, which is true, it's a constant playing lead. You're also you're soloing through the whole song.
That's right.
Yeah. No chords.
Yeah, you're just riffing all the way through it. Yeah.
And Robert, how about you with the guitar?
I don't know. I guess every kid in the neighborhood had a guitar, so they're like, okay, there's a guitar there. I started playing it, and I would go to all these dance halls and Catholic, dances and all that. Well, everybody was always like staring at the girls trying to dance with them. I was always staring at the band, analyzing what everybody was doing so I can do it too, and that's how I learned.
That's awesome. Now, you guys obviously played a lot when you were kids together. Now, before Queensryche, when was the last time you guys played together in a band at the same time?
In a band.
In a band.
Okay, in a band. That goes back to the 70s. Now, we've been doing like benefits and things like that, but that's not a band. That's like, benefits that we do together. What do you say, Rudy? What was it, like 74 or 75?
My God, it was right before I joined Quiet Riot with Randy Rhoads.
So 78?
77.
77.
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah, because the last time I played with Robert, I believe it was 77. I joined Quiet, and then I left New Jersey and went back to LA, and then joined Quiet Riot, so that's 78. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Rudy, I appreciate you calling in today. I know that you've got to get going because you've got a busy schedule, unlike your brother who's been lounging around on his yacht all day. But before I let you go, I just want to ask you one question. You are in a really unique position because you played with Randy Rhoads in two bands, Quiet Riot and Ozzy. Question one is, how did you see him progress as a guitar player in that short period of time, and where do you think he'd be today if he were still with us?
That's a good question because I was thinking about the same thing because listening to that song you were just playing for Queensryche and we using that as a reference to the material that we do from Operation Mindcrime, which is so much more sophisticated, more progressive than that last song, The Queen of the Reich. As a matter of fact, on that EP, that's where I met Jeff and the rest of the guys because they open up, Queensryche opened up for Quiet Riot in 1983 on that EP, The Queen of the Reich.
Right. Wow.
And I remember them, and they were like a really great metal band, kind of like in the Maiden, Saxon
Priest
vein.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden they started progressing and they turned into this, very highly successful prog rock type band. And to me, that is the Queensryche that really, grabbed my ear because, growing up, Robert and I, we grew up with prog rock.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people might not realize that, but, we were always huge fans of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, yes, King Crimson, Genesis, and everything
Sure.
of that genre. And fusion, too, John McLaughlin and Chick Corea and, and all the great bass players that played from that era. So interesting because I was thinking about that. I was thinking about progression, how quickly and beautifully Queensryche progressed from the Queen of the Reich EP to Empire, Operation Mindcrime, and so on. And this, but with Randy, it was really outstanding was the fact that not only did it progress from Quiet Riot to the Blizzard of Oz, but if you listen to Blizzard and Diary of the Madman back to back, I mean, those records were recorded within months of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the progression is just incredible from one record to the other. So, I mean, yeah, I was like, oh, my God. You mean these records were produced, actually recorded and written and recorded within maybe 6 months or less? Probably less than that.
Wow.
From each other. And yeah, so, I mean, where Randy will be today was really hard to say, but I can tell you where he was, the path that he wanted to take back right before he passed away was, he wanted to become more of a solo artist.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like in the, we were listening a lot to Lee Ritenour at the time in the bus. And he just wanted to go into the Pat Metheny, Lee Ritenour, which were like the hot guitar players, 33 years ago. I mean, of course, nowadays there's more guitar players. But back then, those are the guys that Randy was really concentrating on. Get more into classical. So, he would have become a hybrid of jazz, fusion, classical, metal, everything, all roll into one. Very unique talent.
It's a shame that the world never got to see that.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
Rudy, before you say goodbye, just want to give you an opportunity to talk to your fans who've been with you since, Quiet Riot, Ozzy, Quiet Riot, Whitesnake, all the way up to Queensryche now. What would you like to tell them?
Oh, boy. I usually tell them on Twitter and Facebook, thank you so much for listening. It's not much about telling them that. I mean, I know they know.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate their support. We'll do. All of us musicians, we will be doing what we're doing, if it wasn't for the support of the fans. And I can tell you because I've been a fan longer than I've been a professional musician. And, it's a two-way street. You first you become a fan, and then you become a professional musician, but you never lose that fan side of you. At least I have never had.
Right.
And I appreciate it when the people that inspire me keep doing what they're doing, because not only does it give me hope to keep on,
right,
but also it just sets the bar higher, and it just keeps me reaching for an even higher level, And I just want to thank the fans for always being there and being, and not only supporting all of us, but also helping us. Making it possible for us to do, to reach for the sky.
Reach your dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rudy Sarzo. Rudy, thank you again for joining us today. I know you got a recording session you got to get back to, so I'm going to let you go now. We're going to wrap this up with your brother in a few minutes. But thanks again, Rudy, and I will see you soon, brother.
Bye, Robert.
Bye, Rudy.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Love you.
Love you too.
Now, I saw Jeff's Queensryche at HOB Sunset last month, I think April. Is that when you played?
On Sunset, yeah.
On Sunset.
Yeah.
Okay, House of Blues Sunsets. Hoping to get a glimpse of you two playing together. And Rudy was in Russia at the time. So I'm beginning to wonder, I mean, he's not here in the same room. I'm beginning to wonder if there's actually two of you. I haven't seen the two of you together. There are two of you, right?
There is two of us.
Okay. Now, I got a list of bucket list items I want to address with you. Okay, so who is the one person or band you've not played with yet, but you simply have to play with?
Wow. Well, a lot of them, they're already not existing anymore. They're hopefully in a better place. But
as long as they're not voodoo priests, they're in a better place.
Well, no, the thing about voodoo is all about energy, but it can be also very positive. It's just like everything has. It's just like a car battery. You got the positive and the negative. You need both.
Gotcha.
To make a balance. Okay, band. Going back to the bands. I don't know. There's a lot of great bands out there I would love to, play with. Wow. There's a lot. I mean, I've always enjoyed Def Leppard,
Okay.
Ozzy. I mean, to actually be out on stage and perform in front of an audience.
Right, with us.
Yeah, I love Ozzy. Black Sabbath, Robert Plant with Jimmy Page. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you got a long bucket list.
Yeah. King Crimson. That would be another great one.
Now, you've toured the world over.
Yeah.
In your numerous bands over your illustrious career. What is the one country you've not performed in that you want to hit before you kick it?
I would like to go to Russia. I like to do that. Because growing up with communist Russia, of course, that was never a thought in my mind that I would ever go there.
Right.
But yeah, I like to go there.
Not intentionally, at least.
Not intentionally, right? Yeah. And I'd like to go back to Cuba, but not in the regime that's still existing over there.
Mm-hmm.
So Germany, like to go there as well.
Now, as we just mentioned, Rudy was in Russia last month, right? With this other group.
And I'm mad at him. He didn't bring me any vodka.
No vodka. Oh, I know, and I hear that's pretty good over there too.
But I don't drink vodka myself.
You just wanted to say vodka.
Yeah, he did bring me one of those cool hats.
Did he?
One time, yeah, with the sign of the Russia thing, but really nice and warm. Yeah,
And that's his Project Rock, right? Is that what that group's called?
I think it was there with Ronnie Dio when he brought it back way back.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I just meant this group he was there
this
with.
last one, yeah, Project Rock.
Project
yeah,
Rock.
Yeah.
Okay. Now then, kind of similar to that other question, but if you could re-record any album with the original members of that band, past or present, live or dead, re-record one album with the original band.
Any band.
Any band. What album? What band?
Well, we have to be with Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
Any album.
Any single one of them.
Any album, especially the first one. Led Zeppelin one. Oh my God, that really made my head spin.
Now, would you let Jimmy play a little rhythm with you, or?
Yeah. I mean, it would just be a blast to just go back and forward and just really, he's been my mentor, and that's one of the reasons I play with the guitar bow, because I saw what Jimmy was doing, and then I'm like, okay, and then I got into MIDI, and that's why during Hurricane tours I stopped playing the bow, because I started, using MIDI on my guitar. But there's a song in our EP that's called It's Only Heaven, and that was the one that we had out on Take What You Want album. And that one, it's all with the bow that I was playing on it. But anyhow, that's because I saw Jimmy Page, and I'm like, well, what else can you do with that? Let's put some harmonizers and delays and reverb and volume pedal,
right?
And
all the
wah,
bells
wah.
and whistles.
But
right?
it sounds like like a mellotron.
Now, have you ever had the opportunity to meet him?
Oh, yeah. We actually, one of the coolest experiences that I had was back at the Seven Seas. I grew up in Miami most of my childhood, and I used to design clothing, and so did my brother. And I had a really cool red velvet outfit, that I had designed, my mom made, and I'm leaning in the bar, which I wasn't supposed to be because I wasn't, even 18. But in Miami those days, it was kind of laid back. I started playing clubs at 14, so I kind of got used to hanging out in the bars. And I'm just leaning in the bar, listening to a band. Well, there walks in Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones. The guy walks up to me, looks at me, and shakes my hand. Now, that was like the, when you're in the Olympics and you're doing the parade and you're passing the torch,
right,
it's like,
right.
It was so intense, his handshake, and that totally changed all the vibrations, in my head and, through the universe. And that's when I told myself, okay, this is very cool. This is really weird, but I'm just leaning here on the bar, and the guy walks up to me and shakes my hand and says hi and keeps walking. So anyway, I sat down with him, and the guys in Bad Company. What it was is a bad company I just signed on to do a record, to sign with Swan Records.
Mm-hmm.
So they were in Florida doing a tour, and that's why John Paul Jones was there, and the manager, and Jimmy Page. And I could have gone up and jammed with them. My brother stayed there, but the damn singer that I had at the time said, no, I need a ride home. And I had a car, so I took him home. Well, I heard they closed up the club, and I had a private jam session there. And I could have been already jammed with Jimmy Page. I think it was like 16 or 17.
So how long did that singer last with you after that?
Oh, yeah, didn't I? Yeah, great singer, but every band that I had, I was always like trying to recreate Led Zeppelin in my head,
Right.
And even with Hurricane, that's why I was, 3-piece instrumental with the singer.
Mm-hmm.
I love Led Zeppelin.
Right. You're listening to Radio Screamer with Diamond Dave Castagno, part-time DJ, full-time sex symbol, and my remaining guest, Mr. Robert Sarzo, who's a part-time sex symbol, full-time yachtsman. And he's only part-time because he doesn't have the time I've got to devote to being
the Voodoo Man.
The Voodoo Man.
Gonna come and get you.
As we near the end of another award-winning installment of Radio Screamer, I want to thank my guests, Rudy and Robert Sarzo, for joining us. You guys have been absolutely awesome. I want to remind you all to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and sign up for your free membership at radioscreamer.com. Now, Robert, when Hurricane went into hiatus in the early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was broken up, but you're in it now, so we'll call it hiatus. You did a solo project right after that, correct?
Yeah, it was actually, Robert Sarzo. It's called After the Storm, and I just released that record last July, and it went #1 bestseller on Latin and American rock, which is Rock en Español, on Amazon.com for 3 weeks. #1 bestseller, and it's still up there for sale.
So it's on Amazon, iTunes as well?
Any digital, and also we're selling it on the Queensryche tour and merchandising. And
Okay.
I signed them all.
And you can search it. I've got a copy of it here now myself, but I went ahead and purchased one of the ballads off of it. Was that album what, partial Spanish, partial English?
Yeah, it's Rock en Español. And then the opening track is a voodoo track.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually done with all the Afro talking drums called War Dance, and it's one of my favorites. It's got all the rhythms, and remember I was telling you that I grew up with listening, and
Right.
One of those when I was sick with fever. That's in the actual album.
I wasn't sure if that was going to be a chopper or music that you were describing there.
Which one is that? Yeah.
So anyhow, we're going to we are going to close the show with a track from After the Storm, Robert Sarzo. Robert, would you mind doing the honors of introducing this last song?
Yes, we're going to go ahead and play right now. It's called Innocent Girl.
Okay.
One of my favorite tracks.
I know you have your choice of radio programs to fly, and I truly appreciate you choosing to fly mine. Till next week, love y'all.